Hello and welcome. We are into day one of a new term. So it is your second semester. Well done on getting this far. It is a big juggling act between that it takes to get all your assessments and assignments and get the classwork done and all the rest. So well done. It was lovely to meet a bunch of you at the on-site. So it is great always that we're not just always floating heads. So I suppose it gave most of you a good outline of, how the module is going to work that you're facing into. So my name is Caroline. I'm going to be teaching you the computer systems and networks part of it. So I know that everybody wasn't in a position to be able to come to the on-site. So possibly, let me have a look here. I might just run through a very brief intro into what we did there in the on-site. If I get it up and running here, so let us go. Here we go. Now, as I said, a lot of you have seen this already, so it's the advantage of it being recorded. You can whiz through me and ignore me. So for any of you then that weren't in a position to go to the on-site, I'll just briefly go down through some of the content of what we did. Just an introduction to the module, I guess. So moving along, here we go. Here we are. This is us. I will be taking you for the first 3 weeks, and then you'll have a week of Mujahid and you'll be into your first midterm. I'll go through that in a second. So me, Caroline, there's my email address, but I suppose the same as what you've always done. Keep an eye on your Slack and make use of Slack as well to help each other out and to support each other. You know, it's difficult for everybody when you're facing into these unknowns and new modules. Some of you have experience. I know that from the Slack messages that I've gotten in the background asking me which Linux do I need to use. So I know that some of you have some experience anyway in using Linux. Brilliant. Some of you have zero experience, and don't worry about it. We're all going to start and bring you up to an equal level. That's the plan anyway. This is your module, so split between myself for the computer systems side of things and Frank and Mujahid for the networking side. So our timetable then is, of course, now we have our Mondays and our Wednesdays. So this semester then, obviously we're starting today, Monday the 19th. And Mondays and Wednesdays then is when I'll be releasing your notes. So the first 3 weeks is going to be me. So I'll have these first 6 classes. So that will cover in general most of the computer systems side of things. In general, it'll focus on using Linux, getting you comfortable with the command line and with scripting, and how to automate some little system that we'll create when time comes. Okay, so here we are. This is us, your timetable, and then you've got your database as well. So not overly worried whether you do it live at those times or whether you take it in your own time. That's perfect once you get the contents completed. And again, Slack. If you are falling behind, if you're having difficulty, if you can't, whatever it might be, please reach out on Slack. You know, we're all there to help each other. As I said on the on-site as well, that in general, I'm hoping that you can help each other out. If you are wanting me to answer a particular question, maybe it's a due date or it's something like that that you think the other class don't, or the other people in your class don't know the answer to, well then tag me if you want me to answer it, because as you know yourself, Slack can get busy, so I'm by no means going to be going through your messages and checking what you're saying. So if you want to talk to me or if you want to notify me of a message, well then just please put a tag me in your Slack messages. This is the module overview. This is in general how the module will run. Today it's just going to be an introduction. Wednesday we'll be hitting into the number bases in computer science. The logic, it's a bit on logic, not too much. Computer systems architectures and the operating systems, file and memory management, scripting and shell programming. A lot of what we're going to do the number bases and the architecture and all of that will be done via your use of scripting. So it's going to be kind of a lot of practical work that I'll have little bits of homework for you to do, but they will feed into your bigger assessment then as well. So hopefully they'll be a nice starting point for that. Okay, and then you've got the networking side of it that Frank and Mujahid will be taking you for. Your technology, at this stage, everybody should have received a Cisco Netcad invite. If you haven't, you need to contact me. So check your whatever email that you registered with. Most likely your SETU email is where that invite will have gone to, because in general, I just took the invites from your class list, or your names, your email addresses from your class list, and I've invited, hopefully, most of you anyway, into the Cisco Netcad. This is a brilliant starting point for you if you're new to Linux. And if you're a more experienced one, well then this will give you an opportunity to complete the Cisco Netcad module, and you can be certified and add it into that wonderful CV of yours. What you'll see I'll be doing and I use in class, most of my notes are based on, I have my machine, I have my machine split, I have a virtual box, and then I have Linux Ubuntu, the version, is sitting on top of my virtual box. So it just pretty much keeps any of my testing and messing around with Linux separate to my actual machine, where I have other contents on it, like work contents and so on. For you, as I said on Friday, I do not mind at all if you're using any version of Linux that you've already got downloaded or installed or whatever you're used to. That is perfect with me, because what I'll be using in general is the command line. It's that black screen, okay? So what we will be using is your bash shell scripting. So in general, we'll be using the command line. So you can use any basic editor. It could be the a similar version to Notepad or WordPad. And it's just going to be, you can use any version for that, for the set of my notes. And then you've got Frank and Mujahid. They will describe in more detail, once you get to their module introduction, what they will be using and what you'll be required to have. Keep an eye on Slack for that as well, because Frank usually updates and lets you know what is happening in good time. So for your Cisco Netcad, have you got your invite? Hopefully. If not, email me or send me a Slack message and I will enroll you onto the Cisco Netcad. For me, for the purpose of this module, I am not expecting you to complete all of the modules in this course, in this Cisco Netcad program. I will be doing up to and including module 11, and this will go towards 5% of your continuous assessment. So what is it all about? Your Cisco Netcad is a huge, big global education program where you can, let's say you decide yourself that you'd like to learn a bit more about Packet Tracer, you'd learn a bit more about Python, or you want to learn a bit more about C, C++, whatever it might be. You can go onto the Cisco Netcad and you can search for different programs. The one that I will be using is the Linux Essentials one. So you'll see that automatically once you log in anyway. So there is millions of students literally around the world. So it's a great program, it's a great course or certificate as well to have down on your CV. If you don't go as far as completing the module and getting the certificate, for me, that's optional. That's not to do me. I don't mind if you get it or not. I just want you to have up to and including chapter 11. But if you continue on, it always looks good on your CV anyway. Okay, so this was just a screenshot I took there last week, or week before was it, in relation to employment in Ireland. So of course, there's always lots of employment in terms of computing and cybersecurity. You can't turn on the news without something in relation to cybersecurity. Not a week goes by. So on this, you can use your LinkedIn, take advantage and have a LinkedIn account, get it up to date, make sure that it reflects that you're currently completing this program as well. And in there you can see the positions that and the opportunities that are available to everyone. Okay, So the jobs market by 2025, automation and all of that, 85 million jobs. So AI, as you know, is really booming at the moment. It's very much a buzzword when it comes to any sort of promotion of courses and programs and everything really. So many new jobs that relate to that. And of course, as a side effect of it, you've got your cybersecurity then that relates into that too. So any of these Cisco certifications, I am not requiring you to finish, complete and have an actual cert, okay? I don't expect that. I'm asking you to have up to and including chapter 11 done. The certs then, you can continue on and you can complete a cert. You can complete any amount of certs. You can see here, free, free, free. Free is always good, isn't it? So in there you can decide, you can search for and choose and decide to complete any of those programs. Oh, sorry. My phone should be on silent, of course. So in there you have your Cisco certification. For me then you're going to complete the Linux Essentials, all right? So that is the course that we're going to complete. And again, it's going to be in your own time. I will tell you exactly what I'm expecting you to do by the end of this class anyway. So there's your modules up to including chapter 11. You can see the first chapter, there's no exam, but following on from that on here, you can, maybe it's a bit tiny there, is it? I'll zoom in here for a second. On this chapter 2, chapter 3, you can see once you complete the chapter, once you go through the notes, then you can go in and complete the chapter exam. Okay, so that will allow you then and allow me to see that you have completed and you've received a grade for those. So the chapter exams should be available to all of you from now. They're available now, so you can start and work away. I will give you guidance on how many you should have done by the end of this week, how many for the end of next week. The best way to do this is first, before I get into your shell scripting, larger continuous assessment piece of work. Okay, so it gives you a very strong base. Which version of Linux? How many should you have? Choose one, okay? You can use any of these. If you're on Windows, you can use the WSL, your Windows subsystem for Linux. Perfect, that will do fine. If you're on a Mac, you have your Mac terminal. That's perfectly fine. Or you might decide, you know what, I'm a bit worried, or I have a lot of secure information or work content on my laptop. I might actually split it so that one can't interfere with the other. In that case, you can install VirtualBox. And so that will just split your machine kind of into having a virtual machine. So your computer will act as having two machines. You'll have one of them as your regular daytime, whatever it is. And then you can install lightweight Ubuntu is a very popular one that it's called Lubuntu. You can install that into your VirtualBox. So it sits kind of as a separate system. Okay, so it just depends on what system that you have. So you can use your UTM virtualizer. That's fine. You can install Ubuntu on a Raspberry Pi. If you are or have bought a Raspberry Pi for Frank's networking section, well then feel free to use it. You can have that for this coursework. A lot of my notes and my screenshots will come from my installation of Lubuntu on VirtualBox. But for what I'll be doing, it's not going to matter. You'll see once you get the first definitely 2 weeks over with you, it'll all look that bit more familiar, hopefully, and less scary. Less scary is always good, isn't it? So it's your choice. Choose one, any one of that previous slide there. So this is all in the intro from the on-site anyway. So choose any one and install it and off you go, ready to rock and roll. So hopefully most of you have something started for now. If not, well then you can pause this video and head off and get something installed because you need it for class. Here's your continuous assessment schedule. We're hoping to stick pretty much to this for the reason that you've got other work to do. You've got your database assignments, and if it's fine. I don't have a problem, and I completely understand that, people are working, people might have travel to do on a week that something is due. You might have family commitments and so on and so on and so on. I do understand that. And if you need an extension to any of continuous assessments, please contact me because it is flexible. The only reason that I push this date is because, as everyone knows, if you're like me, if I leave it longer, you'll say, well, sure, I'll wait another week and get it done. Like, how many of you in your heads will have it done by the end of week 5? So if I had a cut-off date of week 5, you'd all be in a panic getting it finished for the end of week 5. But I'm extending it out to the end of the second reading week to give you a breathing space, okay? But I'm hoping that almost everybody will submit it by then, because if you don't, you're into the next assessment and you're into networks and everything is overlapping, and it just causes confusion because you have our module and you've also got, most of you anyway, will be doing the database module as well. So I'm going to try and encourage you as much as possible to get your continuous assessment in as per the dates there. So it'll be the end of the second reading week. So pretty much aiming for the end of March to have your larger continuous assessment, the shell scripting program, completed for me. Okay, but as I said, any issues, contact me. So it's going to be a lot of practical skills, okay? It's going to be a lot of hands-on. That's why I'm saying to you that, by the end of this on-site revision little part, recap if you want, that you do need to have some version of Linux downloaded, okay, and ready to go. You will be experimenting, you will be building something in my module and also separately in Frank and Mujahid's module. Don't worry if you're thinking, Mother of God, by the end of this class, thinking that is so foreign to me. I've never done anything like that. It's all scary, black screen. Where is my graphical user interface? Don't worry about it. We've all had to start somewhere. Okay. And in terms of this Linux, we'll be going through it step by step, and I will hopefully be bringing everybody up to the same level, or at least similar. So for those of you that are more experienced, I'm still hoping there'll be something new for you as we go down through the module anyway in each of the weeks, each of the classes. But don't get overwhelmed, okay? Take your time. My advice to you is to go through the Cisco NetAcad. If it is new to you, absolutely go through the Cisco NetAcad. Try and make your way down through the chapters in that as per your weekly advice. Try and keep up to speed with that. So yes, it is an extra workload, but think of it as being your homework, because for the first week or two, there'll be smaller practical bits, but there won't be any hugely time-consuming parts. So try and get your Cisco NetAcad, get a handle on that anyway, because to be honest, like, that's really where you'll get the most benefit to start off with anyway, especially if you're new to it all. So I am just going to change my screen here now and bring you back into where I'm going to today. So we will be starting off class today. Let me see. So I will start off on our class. Let me just, yes, wrong screens. I'll talk to myself for a second here. You can ignore me. Okay, so for today, where are we? Computer systems and networks. What it's all about, starting from beginner's level. Okay, so any of the continuous assessments I relate to is just going to be in relation to the computer system side of things, and Frank and Mujahid will cover the networking side. Move computer, there we go. Sorry, just have to get them. Had a little stumble there, but anyway, first hurdle, isn't it? Right, today is an intro, but we will get started on some notes as well. So you've got all of the contact details, and again, please use Slack for any of your communications with us and also with yourselves. So tag me then if you want. So I hope you've all got from the on-site. It is a fantastic opportunity to be completing this. There's huge opportunities for students at the end of this, and I'm I really do. I love the approach of this. I love the use of Slack for students, especially when it gets busy for yourselves, because you know then that people are helping out. And that's what I want to see. I want you to help each other out. I want you to say, where was that? How do I do that? I'm getting this error. How do I fix it? Because sometimes when you're doing a course online, as I know myself from not completing previous course when I was just out of college, that it can be very isolating. And I hope then that the on-site kind of brings people together, and highly recommend even study groups and things like that. I know that Laura will be on to you about different bits and pieces, but you know, it is, look at, we're all human. We like the contact and the communication with each other. So I hope that Slack will help with all of that as well. Okay, so it's always brilliant then for you. You're coming from such diverse backgrounds and experiences and things that it just brings a whole different dimension to classes, which I really enjoy as well. So that is our week. Sorry, that's an old one. I'll have to update that. I showed you the one a minute ago anyway. So our classes then on Mondays and Wednesdays. Okay. The expectations then, for me, what I expect you to bring to classes and to have by the end of when I'm finished with you, is the objective is to build confidence in you, that you're confident, that you're comfortable in using Linux, in using the command line for a little bit of scripting, programming, and in being able to create those scripts that will perform some actions for yourselves. So another expectation of mine is for you to ask questions. So please be open. Don't get bogged down in the background and thinking, oh my God, I'm lost already. Because if you are, you can be pretty guaranteed that someone else is as well. And possibly it's just a matter of me going back over something, me doing a little tutorial, me doing a little bit of extra notes or whatever it might be, that maybe I haven't covered it in enough depth, or I've jumped forward, because sometimes, you know, what can happen is I forget to mention a step, and next thing I've gone ahead 2 steps and you're wondering, how did you get there? So please just let me know. And as well, if there's typos, I'm sure there are in the notes, you can let me know as well. So tips, tricks, hacks, all of that is strongly encouraged through your use of Slack as well. So hopefully you've all got some version of Linux. So for your continuous assessment for this module, 5% of it is going to be based on those Cisco Netcad exams, up to and including Chapter 11. 20% will be a shell scripting assignment that you have, and this will lead from smaller in-class exercises that I will be asking you to do over the next 3 weeks. But they'll feed into the bigger assignments, so they're worthwhile. Okay, first up is that Cisco Netcad. I'm giving you 5% towards that, because I want everybody, whatever your experience is in Linux, I want everybody to complete those Cisco Netcad exams. So if you have great, strong, willing experience with Linux, well then just skip into the exam and see how you get on. That's fine with me. So there is a block of notes and it follows with the exam. So everyone should have received the email. So hopefully that has gone through with everybody's, and you'll see a list of the contents then. There is 3 attempts at every exam, and you'll have the chapter exams for the end of class 1. I'm asking you to have chapters 1 to 4 inclusive. There's no exam on chapter 1, so it's just 3 exams, and they're not long, you know. They're not going to take you ages to do. So it'll just give a broad general introduction to your Linux, and it has a split screen, so it allows you to practice your Linux on the right hand side while you're reading the notes as well. Okay, so they really are a brilliant starting point for everybody. The Cisco shell exam there. Okay, just have to change that percentage. 20% goes towards shell scripting assessment. You will create a system using your shell scripts that will be interactive, allowing people to, you know, you have your CRUD to create, edit, amend, be able to delete contents and so on. So we'll go through that. So I will be giving you that it'll be given to you before reading week. It'll be given to you at once I'm finished my first 3 weeks of contents, and it'll be due then, as I said, at the end of the second reading week. So that brings us into the end of March, as far as I remember, which is here anyway. Okay, so what is that? Brings us to maybe the start of April, really, at the end of March, start of April. So to try and give you a little bit of a chance to get that done in a bit of time. So hopefully that will all go okay. There's the 5% classwork is your completed scripts. A bit of homework, I know my head's in the way there, but anyway, it's 5% your completed scripts. That will be a little bit that will feed into the larger assessments. So that's why it's kind of just a starting point to get everybody up and running in terms of thoughts on what you're going to create your system on. An introduction to operating systems. So with Windows being the majority, rules in general terms of desktops and computers, we are going to ensure for this module that everybody has some exposure and experience with the Linux operating system. So Linux is massive. It's used on desktop, Chromebook, laptops, mobile devices, your Android, your Google and Amazon all use Linux for their cloud technology, your space stations, your NASA, all of those. So what we are going to do is just ensure that everybody has an exposure to this Linux operating system, whatever version of Linux that you might be using. As I said, my version is going to be based on the VirtualBox that I've installed on my machine, and I'll be using Ubuntu from that. But for you, it doesn't actually matter. So in an operating system, then you've got your application software, which is all the software that you use, all those applications that you open up, your word processor, your Photoshop, your media games, your search engines, your video players, and whatever else it might be. Your software, your system software then is the set of programs that make the computer work. So what is the software that is for the system itself? So this could include your device drivers that help your different parts of your computers to communicate, your utility programs, maybe you've got antivirus checkers and so on, disk cleanup tools, and whatever programming tools that you might have as well. So when you play games, when you write documents, when you browse the web for whatever it might be, this system software is in the background, keeping things ticking over, making sure that everything happens in a way that us as end users expect it to happen. The system software is a broader category, and that includes our operating system. So under the hood of our computers, whatever that computer device might be, a phone, a watch, a desktop, a laptop, you've got some operating system. There is an operating system, at least one. So as well as all the other important tools that we've mentioned that all help our computer to work well. So you can think of the operating system like a very important part of the system software. It's a type of software that controls all of the hardware, the keyboard, the screen, the memory. It manages all of our software. So when you're switching between your, let's say, your PowerPoint and your internet, we don't want this chuggedy. We just want it to be seamless. And our operating system allows us to do that. It allocates time to each application to ensure that it is seamless and nice smooth runnings for us. So whatever your operating system is, whatever your choice of operating system that you use day to day, is going to serve as the bridge between the software and all of the hardware, all of the pieces that you can pick up and use. So users today have so much choice. The main umbrella terms you've got Windows, you've got Linux, and you've got Mac OS. So only Windows is based on proprietary code, whereas Linux, Unix, Linux-based Mac OS, they're all based on freeware. Okay, so they're all free as a bird. Don't know if any of you are local enough to have ever spotted this Joe Daly in his Waterford hot air balloon, the lovely blue and white balloon. So that will, your operating system, that's what the bridge is for, bridging the gap between your hardware and your software that we use. Okay, so software that runs my software is whatever apps that are running on your computer device, manages your hardware and software. That's what your operating system does. It manages all of the components. It is the manager. It says, okay, your turn now, your turn now. Keep everything running smoothly, to schedule programs to run and provide all of the services that we want. So basically, when we hit the button to start it up, that will kickstart our computer, and it's all based on the operating system. Which operating system is best? Completely depends on personal preference and also functionality. So, what is there a particular software that needs to be run? Is there a load of users that are going to need to access it? Do you need to have a particular life cycle for a life term for your operating system for it to be serviced or whatever it might be? Is there updates? Is there stability? Is there testing done on it? Is it compatible with maybe software that you have in the background, so you don't want to lose access to previous software or previous programs or whatever it might be? So is it backward compatible or not with earlier versions then? And cost, of course, a huge factor for any new system. Microsoft has the annual license fees. Apple doesn't charge an annual fee, but again, it's only your Apple devices then that need to be used in general. And of course, there are many, many different Linux distributions and Linux providers as well that will offer enterprise support. And although it's free, the support mightn't be, but yet you've got so many different open source and help communities online to help you with your Linux. So an introduction to Linux. Have you used Linux before? If not, you might think you haven't used it, but you actually have. Maybe you haven't interacted with it directly, but Linux is absolutely everywhere. And there's such a wide range of contexts and industries, because it's versatile, because of its stability, reliability, because it is open source. It is, in general, you can create a Linux distribution. I might say, well, do you know what? I'm going to start a new one myself today, and I can just download my software, my code from wherever it might be, depending on what distribution I want, and I can edit it, I can make it scalable, I can make sure it's reliable and all the rest. So many of the largest and most influential companies in the world rely heavily on Linux for their core operations, for their infrastructure, for whatever products that they might be selling. The likes of Netflix, the likes of NASA with their Mars rovers, the likes of Google, X, Meta, Amazon, Samsung, PlayStations, Tesla, Cisco, Red Hat, of course, big company in the southeast. So I put into the famous Smarty Pants, ChatGPT. Why is it important to become familiar? Because it has huge benefits across several important areas in computing. So IT, software development, data analysis, system admin, and so on. So some companies, just a list of companies and their market share, you can see the revenue, massive revenue in terms of the market share in these. So I took that from Tech Data Park online. I think, as far as I know, is this a link? Sorry, get rid of my little, did I leave a link on that? Oh, I did. I did, and now I'm going into it, but anyway, I'm going to go back on my own screen. So that's two screens up and running, hitting one and changing the other. Right, so in here, there, oh God, I'm after clicking on it again, sorry. Give out to myself here. In terms of your Linux, why use it? So many different reasons. You have all of the different reasons are so broad. I've just taken a bunch of them and put them up onto this screen. So you have the likes of supercomputers. All supercomputers use them. Smartphones use Linux. Android is built on Linux. Top choice for developers for web, AI, machine learning, cybersecurity. NASA uses it. Special effects are all using Linux. Loads of reasons there. So why not? Of course, it's open source. Huge benefit. So historically, most software has been issued under closed source. So you have to write, you have to get the rights to use the executable files. You generally can't see the source code. Think about Google runs millions of Linux-based servers. They avoid the license fees, saving millions every year. So the philosophy is that with your open source, you have the right to obtain the software source code and you can modify it then for your own use. So it makes it hugely flexible, hugely customizable towards Windows and Mac. Right, so it is around a long time. It started off as a project with Linus Torvalds. So what year was that? It was 30 years. So started in 1991. Okay, many moons ago. So in general, Linux is known for its stability. It can run for years without crashing or even needing a reboot. It's ideal for critical infrastructure, for bank, for cloud services, telecommunications, and then you have your Linux on your SpaceX, for example. So reliability is huge in terms of Linux. Linux is a kernel. It is the kernel of a system. Think of a kernel of an apple. It is a central part of it. So created by Linus Torvalds in 1991 as a project that, just a hobby project. What else do you be doing? I'm not going to be relying on graphical user interface and using web browser and all that. What we're going to do practically, we're going to use the command line interface. Of course, there is graphical user interfaces. Maybe some of you are familiar with that. For me, for my notes, what I encourage you to do is to try and do some coding, do some scripting using the command line interface. Don't be afraid, because we'll do it all together, okay? So the command line will rely primarily then on your keyboard input, and you'll just get a better, I suppose, a deeper knowledge of how the operating system works then. So as I said, loads of different distributions. So your distributions, your so-called distros, is what version that it might be. Okay, so you've got loads of different versions, loads of different distros, like Ubuntu or Lubuntu, which is the lightweight version of Ubuntu, and they're all built around the Linux kernel, and then you add your tools to that. So Lubuntu is the lightweight one, user-friendly, huge online community for support. So we are going to embrace the command line interface. At this stage, I'm hoping that you've all got a version of your Linux installed. So if I open up mine here is my Lubuntu that sits on my VirtualBox. What we will in general be using is the terminal window. So if I say to open up the terminal window, that's what I mean by it. Just opening up this terminal, which means that we can now interact with our Ubuntu. Okay. If you see, if we're going side by side with the set of notes, it says to type in, enter the command CAL. You can see here, this is our details of the user and the device we're using. And this is just a command prompt. That dollar that's there, that's just a command prompt. So just be careful when you're looking at my notes. It doesn't mean you need to type the dollar sign, but in general, it is just having your command prompt. So there's our calendar. There's January 2026, okay? So there's our first introduction, possibly into Linux, if you are using it. So using the command line is where I'll be going. So here, if you don't have it on your machine, well, then you can install it. You can install it using the command sudo, which means super user do. It'll install your app then. So you can do sudo apt, apt, install, and then whatever the program name. Okay, so if you need to install a program, that is how you do it. So sudo apt install, and then whatever your program is, in this case CAL, will be perfectly fine. All right. If you want to update or check for any updates, you can use the sudo apt update command, and then it asks me for my password. Oh God. What's my password? Sorry, try again. I'll come back to that. So in general, if you want to get back out of any commands, it is Control-C. So I don't need to go into passwords and go searching for it anyway, because I'm not doing that. Control-C What I recommend, I suppose, is for you to have a cheat sheet, a Linux cheat sheet, which is just a page beside you that you just jot down some notes and tips and tricks and commands that we might be using. Control and C will bring you back to your command line at any stage. So if I go into something sudo apt, I don't know my password right now and I don't have, let's say I'm not going looking into my notes section for it. So I want to get back out of this. If I press enter, it'll just tell me, oh, you're trying to put in your password. So it doesn't bring me back out. Control and C brings me back out to the command line, as you can see there. Okay. So in there, if you want to do another command, you might need to install this. What about if you want to look up the current weather? So there's a command called ANSI weather, right? -L gives a long listing. You will be using -L quite a bit, and you put in wherever you are located. So ANSI weather space -L. Don't get confused with L's and ones. In general, probably it'll be -L for a long listing. Put that in. Command ANSI weather cannot or not found, but it can be installed. Sudo apt install ANSI weather. Okay, so what you can do then is if you don't have it installed already, you can install it at any stage. So if you want to install that, sudo apt install ANSI weather. So whatever the program name is, in this case ANSI weather. So I have installed it there in the background, and let me go back in here. When you are using your commands, you can use the up and down arrows to go back over the commands that you've previously used. So the up and down arrows there with your right hand. So clear is a lovely one if you have a bunch of content on your machine or on your screen and you just want to clear it off a little bit. Clear the head a bit, you can use that so you can clear off your screen there as well. So if I run the ANSI weather -L, I'll do it without the -L start off with just to show you the difference. There's ANSI weather Kilkenny, and there it comes up with their weather in, let's see if you're picking up around Kilkenny, but anyway. And there's a -L for, usually gives a long listing of it. So there's weather in Kilkenny. Okay, so you have a local weather there with that. So 6 degrees at the minute. Anyway, so I'm feeling that my screen is getting cluttered. I'm going to use my up arrow, up until I hit the last command. The last time I've used my clear message instead of me typing it out because I'm far too lazy to do that. So I just want to make you aware of that because you'll reuse that, you know, the up and down arrows there to go through the last used commands. Clear just clears the screen, gives a nice look to our screen then. Okay. So in here, moving along, if you're unsure about something, you do have the manual in there. So you have man, and we will come to use that in time anyway. Uninstall, so we decided, well, you know what, I don't need it anymore. So I can go back in here where I used to install. So instead of installing, I am going to delete that. Sudo apt-get as one phrase. Space remove ANSI weather, and there it's listing all of, do I want to continue? So after the operation, however much space will be removed, that much space will be freed up. Do I want to do that? Yes, I do. Okay, so because I'm using my super user, it knows that I am working as the root. So now if I go back into ANSI weather, it doesn't know what I'm talking about because I don't have it installed anymore. All right, so that is uninstalling it. Okay. In here, you've got a little bit of fun, right? Here's just try out this Cowsay. Hello there, January. Do you need to install it? Once finished, you can uninstall it again. So how about changing some of those, right? So you can make some changes in here. If you remember, you did go back in, you probably had to install something. So I can install COWSA, Cowsay, right? Shouldn't take too long there to install that. And let's say we do something. So Cowsay is the name of the program. Hello there, Jan. Okay, and there you are, the cow says it. Okay, so that is it. Again, I'm using my backup arrow there. So if I go in there and I just do a -L and see what happens here. Oops, I didn't mean there. So there's all the different ones. I can choose any of these. So where I have the Cowsay, I can tell it, well, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it into, put in a -F, and I'm going to say I want it to be a turkey saying it. There's my turkey saying it. Okay, just a bit of messing around just because I want you to become familiar and not too scared. There's your apt-get, and if you want to remove your cow, say, if you've finished and if you've gone through plenty of animals there and you have enough of it, you can remove it again. So just to keep your space freed up as well. So I said to you, Control-C. If you need to stop something, Control and C will be your best friend. Everyone at some stage will want to use Control-C. So if I put in C matrix, oh, it needs to be installed. Flat out install, aren't I? I'm not removing it. Okay, so we can install C-matrix. Oh, told me there was an error because I spelled it wrong, didn't I? So now it's installing it. So if I run my C matrix now, look what it does. Right, I need to stop it. How do I stop it? I'm pressing buttons and nothing is happening. Use your Control-C, bring you back out of it, okay? So figlets, and you can see let's go, and again, sorry. Oh yeah, maybe it's because I have figlets. Oops. There. You can see Linux. There's the starting point of telling you and warning you that Linux is very case sensitive, space sensitive, and special characters sensitive. When I put in the let's go, and as I have on the notes there, I just did it the wrong way around. It says put in figlet, let's go, and it comes up with that little nice kind of funky writing there of let's go, okay? But when I put in let's with the apostrophe, it says finally what happens here when I put in the apostrophe, it sees it as a special character. So it doesn't see it as being text anymore, and it reads this special character as being a single quote mark. And we will come to quotes by the end of this week. So it sees that you're wanting to create, you're wanting to do some work on it. And in that case, that's why we got this figlets with the less. If I put in that, let's go, or whatever you want to say. And it's saying it's coming up saying, yeah, finish off that, what do you want to do? If I close my quote mark, then it'll do. See the way it comes up? So if it sees my quote marks, and we will be doing quotes by the end, when I start it, there's the beginning quote mark, and it keeps on running. Even though I press enter, it still says, okay, I'm waiting for you to close this, and I close my quote, and there it comes up on it, okay? And that's what's happening there. Quote marks, a little glimpse to where quote marks will come into play. For this class, I would like you to go into today's labs. So you'll see that up on your webpage. If I think I have it open in the background here somewhere. Under your page, hang on now. Okay, so on your website, as you know, you have your computer systems and networks. There's all the content from the onsite that I've just given you a little recap of. And in here, then we've got your introduction up in here. There's this. Don't need to listen to myself. Who likes listening to themselves? There's a set of notes, okay? There is a block in there, computer systems introduction. That is the set of the PowerPoints, okay? So that's a set of PowerPoints. And back out here then there is the lab section. You're all familiar with these tutors at this stage. So in under the labs then I'm bringing you in here to do a little bit of work on your new possibly, or on your own Linux version, whatever you're using. Why Linux? Because it is so extremely popular and important for you to be able to use it. And as a computing student, it's really important that students have an awareness and a comfort level with using Linux and shell scripting. You will be using some, again, reusing some of my content when you get to your networking section. So here is using your command line. I would like you to go down through this. So your command line is what we've been using. It's that terminal window. So I have the terminal window still open here. Getting a bit cluttered, yes it is. So what I might do is type in the word clear and just bring me back to the start, tidy it up a little bit. So in there, if I just make that a bit smaller for a minute so I can see some of the background as well. It's a bit flashy there on me. Okay, so in the background, you're in your terminal window and I've got the notes open in the background. I've asked you to type in the ls command and it lists all of the files and directories, folders are called directories, that are on my, where I am now, wherever I am at the minute. I don't know where I am because I can't exactly see it. You don't know where you are because you can't exactly see it either. The next command there, we're just going to follow down through it, okay? Don't worry too much if you're not understanding it. I'm not expecting you to learn it off because we will be doing the same thing the next class, the same thing the following class, the same thing the following class. You will know it, don't worry. Your ls minus l means give me a long listing because I don't know when were these files last modified. Are these the recent files? Are they the old files or what are they? So if I put in this minus l, what it allows me to do is it allows me to see a long listing. So it's going to be the exact same, your active processes, your desktop, documents, downloads, all in alphabetical order. But this time around, if you look at it here, you get all this extra content. What is this extra content? Don't worry too much about it for the minute. What you will be making sense of by the end of this week is what is meant by all of this D, R, W, X, your read, write, execute, your read, write, execute, your read, write, execute. Which ones are turned on, which ones are turned off. You can see in this case, D stands for directories. That means that the desktop is a directory. It means that documents is a directory. It means that downloads is a directory. It's like a tongue twister. Employee.txt. There is no D at the start of it, so that means that it is not a directory, but instead it's a file. There is read and write access rights for the user, for the group. That's the next tree, read, write, execute, read, write, execute. We will do that in the next class. So don't worry too much. That is the file size. That is the last time it has been modified as well. The user and the group. Don't worry too much. We're going to continue on, going down through this. The next one is PWD. Whoops, let me come out of that. PWD means print working directory. I said to you, I'm looking at a list of files, but I don't actually know where I am because I can't see. You know, when you're in, maybe if you're used to Windows and you can see up in the top, you have that address bar and you can see where you are. If you're not too sure where you are, that's where your PWD comes in. The next command is to make a new directory. I want to make a new directory called HDIP. Okay, so I'm going to make it. I don't see any difference there. Is that made? I'm not too sure. So let's check. Go back and use the same command, ls minus l, and have a look and see, do I have my HDIP? Oh, there it is. There's my HDIP file down here. And it was created on January the 15th for me, which is today. So January 19th is class 1, isn't it? So in there, that is allowing you to see it. So if you make another directory, if I use my up arrow and I say make dir and change the H to a lowercase, am I going to get an error saying it's made already? No, I'm not, because what happens is it is case sensitive, as I just said to you. It's case sensitive. So now you've got HDIP all lowercase and you've got a capital H and a lowercase dip. So hopefully you'll be all at HDIP stages before you know it. So in there, if I want to, what's next up there? We want, oh yeah, so ls minus l, done that. We want to, cd stands for change directory. You are going to use these commands almost every time that you open up your terminal window. cd stands for change directory. So I know from when I went into PWD, I'm in my home and Caroline C. If I want to change my directory, cd into a directory called June, maybe June 2026 or whatever you might want to call it. If I leave it as June, so not, do I have a directory called June? I don't, so I'm safe. Change directory to June. I come up with an error. No such file or directory. Yes, that's true, because look it up here. There is no file called June. So take notice of the errors that it gives you. They're not errors that, oh, it's going to explode. It's an error to help you resolve something, okay? So you don't have any directory. PWD, this is where I am, and now I want to change my directory, dot dot forward slash, dot dot forward slash. What does that mean? It means I want to move up a level. So dot dot forward slash is I want to move up one level. If I just do one, and now you can see I've moved up from, I was in home and down in Caroline. If you think of them, if you picture them as being that tree structure, I was from home and I was down in a directory called Caroline. And now I've done CD dot dot and I'm up at a home level. So I've jumped up one level, I've come out and I've gone up one level higher. If I print my working directory, now you can see the difference there is that I'm in my home. In there, where am I now? Remove. So if I do an ls-l, just have a quick look and see what's in here. Just the directory of me. If I put in an rmdir, remove directory, hdip, and also I'm going to remove a second one with the lowercase hdip. I want to remove both of those. Press enter. It's telling me there's no such file or directory, but I made them a minute ago. I know I made them. Why is that? Because look where I am. If I look at my files, you're right, you clever Linux. You're telling me there's no such file or directory because there isn't. They are all inside in this Caroline C directory. Okay, so now I need to change my directory into CAROLINEC, right? Changing my directory, and now if I use my up arrows and I remove these, do we see any difference? Not really. So let me check, is if I go into ls-l, are they gone? And yes, they are. Okay, so if I had another directory in there, there's my H and a capital DIP 2024 that I have. If I remove that, oh, it's not a directory, it's actually a file, was it? Oh yes, it is, it's only a file. So I'm not removing, where I said it was rmdir, it means remove a directory, whereas I'm just removing a file, which is your rm. The last few then that I have, who, what does that do? It allows me to see who's logged into the system at any time. I'm here running solo, talking to myself as usual. So it's only me. More than likely, it'll only be you. If this was a multi-user system, it would show all of the users that are currently logged in, that are live, they're logged in. If I click on date, what do I expect to happen? It shows me the date. And if I use echo, hello world, echo hello world, the echo command is a simple command that means echo back the following contents to the screen, to the standard output, which is my screen. In general, I have mentioned about quotes. So in general, because as you saw from your commands above, if I go back into them there, when you were removing two directories, I could use a space. That meant remove the first directory and then remove the second directory. So really what you should be doing is using quote marks, double quote marks, meaning that catch all of this as being one string. So there's my echo hello world, and it'll pull that out. Okay, what else? Echo hello world on date. There's another one. Echo hello world on, and in this time I'm going to say hello world on date, and it tells me hello world on date. But if I use what are called, where am I? If I go back in here and I put in, so I'm just going to take that out for a sec because it's only a simple little command here just to echo back to the screen. So this part here, echo hello world on date. You can see here you've got these what are called backticks. You'll have to figure out where they are on your own device. For me, it's under the escape button and I need to press it twice for it to appear on my screen. So in here, if I just clear this for a second, we'll see where we are. So right, we've done echo our hello world. If I say echo hello world on date, it says hello world on date, but I actually want to replace date and use that. There is a function in, there's some predefined variables in your shell, in the shell that we're going to be using, which is this, your Linux shell scripting. So for this, if I want to return back with hello world on, and it'll tell me Monday, January the 19th, well then if I put these little, what are called your backticks, I need to press it twice. If I put that in here, now what it will do is it will replace date with the real life. It'll run that that variable and it'll replace it with the contents of today's date. Okay, so that should give you that with your live timing for it. So tips, be careful. Yes, it's case sensitive, uppercase, lowercase, H dips and so on. The ls command, having a look, be convinced, familiar with your naming convention. So you don't have spaces. If you're using spaces, then you'll use your double quote marks so that your script, your shell will use it as literal, that it'll read it as two words together. You know, it'll just ignore the space. Tip 2, use the manual. There is a very comprehensive manual. So in there, you can use the man followed by whatever commands that you might want. For example, I'm after been going through the echo command. So I could say, or the ls command, man ls. And if I press enter, whoa, look where I am. I'm into a full manual page that tells me all about ls and what ls is used for, and all these extra information that I can get from it. You can see, press H for help, press Q to quit. So if I press Q, it quits and brings me back out. Okay, so going down through this, that is grand, including comments. Like with any good program and good programming conventions, you should also include comments with your code. This is in particular for when you get to writing a shell script, a reusable file. When we're just doing it on command line, it's not so important, but I will be getting you to create a template that you can reuse that is going to have some, using the hash character, that it'll have commented out text up on the top. Using a text editor, if you are creating scripts or whatever it might be, in general, I use Nano. So most of mine, you'll see the screens that I'll be using will be using the Nano editor. What that means is if I have a file, let's say I've got a file, I'll just have a look and see what files I have here. There is name temp, okay? Day one hiccups. I've just been recording away, not realising I had it paused. So now I'm a bit lost and I don't know when it stopped. But anyway, we'll fly down through this. Your case sensitive and including your comments and all of that. Right, so if I go into this, I'm just going to skip down through this. Which one is best for class? I don't mind which editor you use. For most of my notes and what I'll do in this little practical now is I will use this Nano editor, okay? I'm going to continue on and go into this num user script. A script is a program. It's a reusable program. So we have decided that we want to create a script that's going to return back how many users are logged into the system right now. So how many live users are logged in. So in Linux, we might need to perform a number of commands or repetitive tasks or whatever. So it's better then to put them into a script that we can reuse them. Up to now, we just used the command line. You will be creating a system, something similar to this, where you'll have options maybe to add a user to the system, remove a user, delete a user, exit. Okay, so from that, that would be your larger project. For now, we're going to start off at the beginning. Create a file called num users. If you are new to this, you can follow along with me here. So we're going to create a file called num users. And in that case, I just wanted to put in, oh yeah, nano num users. Nano USERs. So this Nano editor will allow you to create a file. So I'll just move it up out of the way. So here we have Nano num users, and when I press enter, it opens up the Nano editor. I just typed in this because I was on pause. Echo, welcome to the system. You can put in all of that content. So you have your welcome to the system, the number of users that are logged in, welcome, and the number of users logged in is, right? And I'll put in, so that's fine. We have that much content exactly as it is there. I have, on the next line, I have these commands. Who, space, remember Linux is case sensitive and space sensitive and all the rest, special character sensitive. This is the who command. I don't want, if I just left being the who, it will just reply back with the who is logged in. But in this case, I want to find out the number of users logged in. If I just did the who command, I'll just do that for, no, I won't actually, because I have to do the, what am I doing now? Control C there. Where am I? No, sorry, Control C. I wanted who, I'm going to put in my vertical line, and I am putting in my word count minus L, which means I just want a line count. Don't worry too much if you're not sure what's happening here, because we'll be reusing this. I just want you to be able to execute, create a file, save it, and execute it for starters, okay? It tells us on the notes back here, save the file, go to Control and O, which it tells you down here, write out. So Control and O will save the file. File name to write, num users, yeah, happy with that, so I'm going to press enter. Exit, which is Control, and there's my Control X if I want to go out of it. So there's my exit the file down here, Control and X, okay? So going back into my file, Control X. We're just following along as it is written out. Run your script, and the command to run a script is just the command that you'll always use, is // and the name of the file. Our file name is num users, so // should run our file where it comes back saying welcome here, and there's one user logged in, but I get permission denied, right? As I was expecting, and that's why I have it here. So you will get this permission denied error, okay? So at the minute, we don't have permissions on this file. Is our file in existence? If I do an ls -l, do I have a num users file? There's my num users file up here. Okay, there's my num users file. And you can see if I go back over to the start of it, it's not a directory, so it's just a file. And it has read, write, but I can't execute. Read, write, but I can't execute. Read, and we can't write or execute. So there's 3 different permission groupings in there, but nobody is allowed to execute it. And that's why we get our permission denied. Permissions then is going to bring us into a full new section. So these permissions, I'm just going to go down through it because it's not too much here. And again, we're just going to follow the lead because I'll do more on permissions in the next class. So we're just going to follow along. Tip to rename your file. You should you wish to rename it, we use the mv command, another one that's useful for our cheat sheet. And in here, so we have our move command. Sorry. So down here, move this. So what do we want to change it? We're changing it to stats. mv space num users space stats. Okay, we're changing it. Now if I do an ls -l, I use my up arrow. Num users is gone, but stats is there. So you've moved it. It's like cut and paste and copy and paste. We've cut it out, we've moved it. So the original one, which was called num users, is gone and it has been renamed as stats. Okay, so you can see it. Can we run that? Are we allowed to run it? So let's see, if we weren't allowed to run the first one, the num users, are we going to be allowed to run this? I should see, notice in the background there from looking at this stats that over here your read, write, execute, there's still nobody allowed to execute it. Sure, there's not. So if I run it, it comes up with the expected permission denied. We don't have executable rights at the minute, so we need to review our permissions. So you can see that ls -l. If I go into that ls -l, and I know I only want to look at the long listing of the permissions for stats. So instead of me showing all the files that are there, if I only want to look at one, that's how I can do it. I can just put in the file name after the ls -l. So before we can execute, we have to make it executable. Before we can have to change our permissions to make sure that it is executable. So your command, and something that you'll use every time you're creating files, the command line, is chmod. That allows us to change file permissions, right? So when we look at our ls-l, we saw we have read write, and read write, but we don't have any execute permissions. We need to be able to execute as well. And for now, we're just going to follow along because I will make more sense of all of this in the next class, okay, when I'm doing permissions. So along here's my, okay, in here, where are we? ls-l. So now I need to chmod, and I'm just going to type in 755. Don't worry that you don't know what that means. If you don't, it is just allowing us to create executable permissions now to our file. So if I do a chmod, and now if I change and have a look at my ls-l, look at the difference now. In here, you can see that there is the X appears. So it means that we have read, write, and execute for the owner of the file, the group it belongs to. So maybe I'm part of the Department of Finance, and now everyone in Department of Finance is allowed to execute it. There's my read, can't write it, but I can execute. And same with the others. Anybody else then, if you email it to them, what are they allowed to do? There's the others for the file permissions. So now that I have changed permissions, can I now do my ./stats and run it? There it is. Welcome, and the number of users is, and I'm expecting it to say 1 because it's just lonely old me. And that is it. Okay, that is changing your file permissions then on a file. So we will, as I said, we'll go through that, and I'll allow you to understand, get a bit more in-depth knowledge as to what all of that read, write, execute. And when we change chmod to 755, what does that mean? That will bring us into number bases and using the octal number base in your second class this week. You could shorten the command again to allow, you could just add on executable rights. So you could use a +X, which would give executable rights to everybody for that file. And again, you could use echo to improve the output. So you could make the output more user-friendly, pull back in the use of that backtick for the date, your double quotes for putting in your text string into it. Okay, so your scripts then in here. Suppose you wanted to print out the date and the time. Suppose you wanted to print out the number of users logged in. We have that already, don't we? And suppose you wanted to print out the working directory. These aren't new. We've used the date and time. So we've used that date. I've given you the names of it. We have used the who command and telling it, instead of listing out the name, list out the number of people. And we've used the pwd, which is your print, your current working directory. So those are your 3 commands that you want. Add in to this stats file. Place the shell commands into a file and execute it. So again, open the nano editor for stats maybe and add them into that. So create simple command that will output hello on whatever date it is. There are X amount of people logged in and you are currently looking at, and you use your pwd command. Okay, have a look at that. Your shebang line. What's a shebang line? This is the first line in every shell script because it allows the shell to know which binary that you're using, which type of scripting. We're using bash shell scripting. The bin stands for binary. So this hash !bin/bash tells the shell where to find all of the files and predefined variables and so on that belongs to this. Most shell scripting is done in bash. It is the most common scripting language, and that is what we will be using. So add that shebang line to your stats file. Just put it in, right? Open your stats file and throw it in there as your first line on your file. So if you're in your nano, wherever it is, nano that, it's nano stats now because I've renamed it. And in there, it is just your exclamation, your doing it exactly as it is. Bin for binary and bash is because I'm using my bash shell scripting. And that's it. That goes into the first one. Then it is the comments. You will have who is the author of the file. There's my file. And then you might have a description to show the number of users logged in. Right, and there, that's a nice little description up at the top of it. So adding those in, adding your shebang line, and you add in these commands, make it more user friendly by putting in some content such as welcome to the cert in computer science, welcome to the computer networking, computer systems networking module. Okay, have a go at that and see how you get on. So that will be your first script, making it executable. It should be executable anyway. And for homework in your own time, then I would like everybody to get chapters 1 to 4 inclusive. So completing the chapter and the chapter exams, and this will become, we're starting our continuous assessment early. Let's get cracking. So in there, you will be doing chapters 1 to 4, and it will go towards that 5% continuous assessment. I hope that is all okay. There's a lot covered there, especially if you're new to it, but hopefully you can all go down through it in your own time and make sense of it all. Well done. Flying it.